Okay, we're up and running. Round two,
Beautiful.
Brian.
Good morning.
Good morning. Round two. Last
Round
week
two,
was
ready to
fun.
rock.
Ready to rock. That's right. And today, I know I sent over a quick email what I wanted to talk to you about. Um, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for, well, we're 9 years now. And obviously, I get to talk to you every single day. And through talking to you every day, through different seasons in both of our lives, I've had the pleasure of kind of getting to know you on a very good level, not only in just business, but also as a mentor to me and a friend. And you have a very unique way of seeing life. So I wanted to talk to you today and hoping to get your insight and share with our audience about how you view life, not just in business, but just in general. You have a very interesting way of seeing life on a day-to-day perspective, and you've left a great impression on me, and I've switched how I view my life because of you. Now, this
Wow.
goes back years and years ago to when you were in high school. You had a quote that you wrote in your high school yearbook.
I
Do you want to
did.
share that?
Sure. This quote was, yeah, actually, in my graduating class, we only had about, well, there was 11 of us in total. So it was a pretty small class.
Yep.
And so we were trying to figure out, we wanted to put something in the annual of what, how we would define ourselves moving forward in life. And I thought about it and researched a bunch of stuff, and I was kind of thinking in my heart, well, what would that look like? So here goes.
Okay.
My highest motive is to be like water. Water is essential to all living things, yet demands no pay nor recognition. Rather, it flows humbly to the lowest level. Nothing is weaker than water, yet for overcoming what is hard and strong, nothing surpasses it. And so, that, believe it or not, that quote pretty much defined my life moving forward. And I wrote that I think at age 18 or 17, and so it really defines how I view the world and how I see things. And by looking at humility and recognizing that humility is such a very big part of controlling ego, or really wiping out ego, and allowing one to be of service to people around you. So that's sort of the way I view the world, I guess.
How did you have that view at 18, though? Because most people at 18 are not thinking about their highest self or what they want to attain. It's usually some maybe career goal or some stupid quote, and you bust out a beautiful saying that's guided your whole life. How did you get there at 18?
It had to have something to do with who my parents were, and how we were brought up. I'm the eldest of four, and my parents were. I think they guided us through life in a way that allowed our minds to sort of think that way, and to be really of service, really of service. My dad was of service to many people in his life, as my mom was, and I think that was, the part of that. It was to really have that backbone, or that teaching from my parents, and then realizing that giving was such a wonderful feeling, to be able to give something, to be able to give part of say hello, to wake up and pass somebody in the street and go, hey, good morning, and with a big smile, and realize that, yeah, that's a pretty important thing to do. And I kind of found it was kind of an interesting, the smile part was an interesting one, because when I didn't have sunglasses, I used to squint a lot. And every time you squint, like I squint like this, I'm smiling. And so I'd be walking by and people would be looking at me, and they start smiling back. And I realized that the smile was the thing that kind of opened their hearts, and they, they kind of, they go, oh, hi, how you doing? And so I realized that if I smiled and said good morning at the same time, it made somebody's day, and so that's what I started doing. And it sort of perpetrated from there to becoming part of who I am as a person, and how I love to interact with people, with a very warm and open heart. So.
Yeah. The Japanese, they have a story about the masks, and we have a face who we are by ourselves. We have a mask that we have on with our friends and family. We have a mask on with the outer world, the public.
Yeah.
You and I have talked extensively about that, and I know that Indigenous people have a completely different take on that. What are your thoughts on the three masks compared to maybe a different view on life?
Well, even as Indigenous people, we believe we have sort of one face through life, and it's to protect that face. And the idea of losing face. I mean, that's that term, losing face. What does that mean? That means really doing something that's not in integrity. Doing something that goes all about the principle against the principles that are taught, in whatever religion or within a culture. Certainly in our culture, it comes down to, love and humility and the seven sacred teachings of our grandfathers, that really define who we are as people. And so protecting that face going through life, it's been refined a little bit through, again, I thank you, Keilan, for looking on my bookshelf and looking at the Four Agreements trilogy that I had, and asking, have you ever read that? And I go, I've got it, but I haven't read it yet. And so, the four sort of agreements within that one book called the Four Agreements helps to then refine that whole thought process of taking the seven sacred teachings and then applying that through the Four Agreements, and ensuring that wherever I am, whoever I'm engaging with, that I try to maintain and always maintain my integrity with them, no matter how mad they may be, or angry with me, or happy with me. It's always the same. So I try to maintain that, and through that statement that I shared, when I was graduating, that's part of it. It's part of the process.
Yeah. Well, even before you read the Four Agreements, though, I said this to you even last week, you were living the Four Agreements.
Yeah.
And for anyone who doesn't know what the Four Agreements is, you should grab the book. It's quite a quick read, but it has the power to change your life. I mean, I know it, not to sound woo-woo, but it has changed my life on how I see it and how I interact with people on the daily.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's and to be honest, I mean, I've actually, through the two of us, and practicing that every day with the people that we interact with, but I've passed that book along to a number of different people who have called me back and go, oh my goodness, that's so powerful, and it has made such a change. And it's interesting because I had to facilitate a wedding this past year, and I was thinking, well, what, I'm not a preacher, I'm not anybody like that, and they wanted me to do the facilitation. I was thinking, well, what would be the most beneficial thing for any new couple? And I realized that I came back to looking at the Four Agreements, which is written by Don Miguel Luis, just in case someone wants to know, and use that for the basis of guiding them in their new marriage. What things could they practice that would allow them the best chance for a very wonderful and fruitful life? So, very powerful book.
Yeah. So I want to segue into we have a pretty decent understanding on how you view life and how you interact with it. And that's no different from how you treat business. You've been in the public sector, you worked with government for many, many years, and then you also worked on the private side in your own businesses. Can you take us through the bakery and what your experience was with that, and also the unique experience of working with your parents?
No, for sure. I mean, it's it's funny. I'm not a baker. and I did go to university and I studied business. I would say that really life life would be no different even if I didn't go to university. I could have still done what I'm doing, just so anybody might know. But education was an important part in that it just trained the mind to do certain things, which is what we're doing now, Keilan. Even with what you're doing, you've got a PhD in e-commerce and the learning of what we have needed to do, for our company. But the idea of what I got out of university, and where how I could use it in the bakery realm was two different things. I bought the bakery because my parents did not have anything to retire on. They had no money, and so what I did is I tried to find a business that had good cash flow. It had the things, the parameters that would say this is a strong business. And we as a family, my mom, my dad, and myself, bought an existing bakery operation and ran it for 11 years. And I got to tell you, wow, what an experience. That was one heck of a hard job. We had 30 employees at the top. We were doing probably just under $1.5 million in sales. We didn't start there. We started sort of somewhere in the middle. There was 123 of these franchises around Canada. And by the time we sold, we had built our company to a point where we were number 3 out of 124 or 123 of them. And it was through hard work, but more importantly, you got to have 30 staff that are committed to you. And how do you get 30 staff committed to us as individuals? It's through the principles of that saying that I read when I graduated, and it talks about how you treat people and how do you honor people for what they are able to do and the capabilities that they provide and the ethics that they bring to the job, and treating people fairly and treating people with respect and honor, and again trying to give them as much support, not only in the work environment but also their family environments. So treating people as a family, and that's the way we actually we see our Rain Gear Pro family as well. Same sort of thing. So the working with my parents was really interesting, because you realize as a son that your parents give you the two greatest gifts in the world. One is what you really want to be like, and two, what you really don't want to be like. So I discovered both of those, and so we brought this bakery to a point where we had opened a second store. We opened a franchise, another second franchise to the franchise we had, and I would say that it was the training ground for the work that I currently do or was doing, and that is, how do I help my people, Indigenous people? I'm Anishinaabe, but how do I help our people get into business and stay in business? And what do you need to be able to stay in business? What do you need? What does it take to be an entrepreneur? What does it take to have the persistence to keep moving forward, even if you're falling down and getting beat up and in a whole bunch of difficult financial situations? So that was sort of the training ground, the bakery.
What was the biggest challenge that you faced with the bakery?
I think the biggest challenge was to do with with sort of the people that you're working with. Everyone has problems, and I did share with you that the idea is to treat everyone like a family, which we absolutely did. But when you've got a rotation of people coming through all the time and retraining, the issue that I had, it was that when bakers got sick and they started at 3 a.m, and I was running production that started at 6 a.m, that when people didn't show up, I was there at 3 a.m, worked right through till 6, 7, 8 at night, and it was a challenging business operation. I think whether you've got a restaurant, whether you've got a bakery, a coffee shop, they are difficult operations. And I'm not sure I would actually do it again, except for the training that I got from it. So,
Right, right. So I want to leave people with, you've said a lot of different things that they can take away, but I want to leave them with some actionable pieces of advice. And one of the things that I want to leave people with is your sunrise and sunset story. Because
sure.
whether it's in business or just in life, we have shitty days once in a while. We
Yeah.
try to minimize them as much as possible, but it does happen. So can you just share your view on how you see each day and what we can learn from that?
For sure. As part of that, I'm just going to add one other piece, Keelan, that has to do with, when one is facing huge challenges and it seems like a mountain to climb. And I've shared this with my siblings and share this with family to say when things look impossible and the mountain looks so high that you can't get up top, that what I do to sort of calm myself, to bring myself to a level where the anxiety leaves and I can live life without anxiety, and it'll come to the story in a second, but it has to do with, different people from different walks of life have different beliefs. And there's, some are Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, Sikhs, whatever. But everyone has some beliefs, unless you're an agnostic, I guess it is. But my belief is that in the indigenous world, we speak of the creator. And in my language, manito. Manito means creator. And when I realize that things are really tough, or if I'm afraid, if I got to do a podcast and I'm embarrassed to do it or whatever, I turn it over to, in my own mind, I visualize and I say, you know what, creator? You're the person that always helps me through these processes, and I'm just gonna, all this anxiety and this pain and this frustration that I'm feeling, I'm just gonna hand that over to you and let you guide me to wherever it's supposed to go. I'm just gonna let it go and not worry about it. I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not gonna worry about it because I'm trusting that you're gonna guide me through that process. That, Keelan, is a huge number one. If I was going to say anything to anybody, it is just giving it away and not carrying the anxiety around with you, and just believe that somehow it's going to happen. And that belief takes a lot, kind of walks into the story that sort of an indigenous sort of perspective on life. And the world is all interconnected. In our world, everything is interconnected. Man is not the thing that controls everything in this universe. That everything is interconnected, and with the way we see the world, we see our drum, as the heartbeat of the mother, and we see the earth as the mother itself. And so our role as people on this earth is to look at, to help the world be a better place for our children's children's children. It's called the 7-generation concept. And so the idea is to be able to leave the world in a better spot for our future generations. And so what we take from the world today, we're borrowing from our future relatives. So then how does one prepare the mind daily for sort of dealing with all of this? And I've shared it with you as a sunset story, but it really has to do with when spiritual people pray, they always pray at night when the sun sets, and they pray when the sun rises. But the visual of how we perceive this and why it's so important is that throughout the day there may be things that have occurred in our lives where we feel like we're carrying a bag of shit on our back. Could be people yelling at us. Could be driver rage or road rage or whatever. It could be someone has insulted us. It could be a whole bunch of things that are negative, and they end up on our back. Could be we had a fight with our wife and our daughter or whatever. And, it's like a heavy bag, and as we head towards the sunset, it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and we're bending over on the weight in our own minds of how we're going to deal with all this stuff. Well, in our belief, the idea is that when the sun sets below the horizon, that we give away all of the troubles, we give away all the anxieties, we give away and leave it. We don't carry that stuff on our back. The sack gets emptied. We do not bring that with us through the night to the next morning. We leave it go. And visually, you visualize the idea of getting rid of the stress. And when you do, you feel this huge relief. You feel this, oh my God, I'm just not going to allow myself to go there. I'm not going to think about this, about the what ifs. And then the idea of the sunset is you let all of your troubles go. And on the sunrise, you've heard the term a new dawn. A new dawn in our indigenous belief is a new dawn brings forward, the sun rises. And with that sun comes warmth, warms the sun. Things begin to grow. But we don't carry all the stuff we left in that, got rid of in the sack we were carrying around the night before. Nothing's there. It's a brand new day. We don't carry all of those woes and angers and whatever moving forward. We just open up the day, we look at the sunrise, and we go, oh my God, thank you, Creator, for this beautiful day. And recognize the things around us, the colors, the ability to be able to see, the ability to be able to get up and walk. Anything that we take for granted. There are so many things. And so, you've asked me, why do you always have a smile on your face? Because I actually live life the way I've just described it. And I deal with issues, and we've dealt with issues in the same way I've described them. So there you have it.
It's worth pointing out that this is easier said than done.
Yeah.
I know from my perspective, you and I have had many chats where I've been stewing about something in the past, and you have to remind me, today is the day. That's it. And I think we're our own worst enemies in a lot of ways. And I know like my generation, the younger generation, seems to be dealing with anxiety a lot more, or maybe it's just talked about more. I don't know. But that's anxiety. All anxiety is just worrying about the future and worrying about things that haven't even happened that we're making up. We're just making shit up in our head. And so the biggest thing that I've taken away from this and from your teachings there too is just today is literally all we have. Yesterday's gone. So whatever you did yesterday, with your lack of work or if you're procrastinating or whatnot, that's done. And today is all you have. So just make today count. Tomorrow will take care of itself when it comes, but today is the day. And that's it's been a game changer for me, actually.
And that is also one of the teachings within the Four Agreements, is that the way that you remove all of that negativity is to only live in the past, only live in the present.
Yeah.
And you described it very well. The past is gone. You cannot control the future. And this becomes even more important when one encounters sickness or family members are sick, to be able to say, don't be thinking about what could be. Just think about today and enjoy today as is. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out, Keilan.
Yeah. And on the family side, we've both lost family that's very close to us. We've experienced having family members that are sick, and that practice of just what we're talking about becomes even more important when you're trying to be the foundation for your family, when you're trying to be strong for them. Well, that becomes a lot easier when you embody this lesson.
Absolutely. Yeah, and hopefully if someone listens to this, it'll help them out,
Yeah. We've brought up the Four Agreements a couple times today, so I think it'd be worth on our next call maybe, or one coming up soon, we break down the Four Agreements and what they actually are and why they're so powerful and how they can change your life.
Absolutely. I think that'd be great.
All right. Well, that was 24 minutes. That's good for our second pod there, Bri. We'll see you next week.
Sounds great. Thanks, Keilan.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was good, Brian.